Hidden beneath Greenland's ice is a fortune powerful nations are racing to control. For centuries, no one cared about this frozen island. Now, it could shape the future of global power. Greenland, larger than Mexico, colder than Siberia, and home to fewer people than a small city. For centuries, this icy land was seen as nothing more than a frozen wasteland. But beneath its melting surface lies something nations are now desperate to control. Today, we'll uncover the 7 countries quietly competing for Greenland's future and why this forgotten island may soon reshape the global order. For most of its history, Greenland's ice and isolation were its defining features. But climate change is literally rewriting the map. As the ice sheet melts at an unprecedented rate, 2 things are happening. First, new shipping lanes are opening up. Routes like the Northwest Passage and the Northern Sea Route promise to cut travel times between Asia, Europe, and North America, which could reshape global trade. Second, it's also revealing vast, undeveloped deposits of rare earth minerals, the essential ingredients for everything from smartphones to electric vehicles and advanced defense systems. This combination of strategic location and immense natural wealth has turned Greenland from a remote territory into a primary object of interest in a 21st century resource race. It's a competition where military strategy and economic ambition meet, and every major power wants a piece. So, who are the key players in this high-stakes game? Let's start with a country that has a vested and often overlooked interest due to proximity. Geographically, Canada is Greenland's closest western neighbor. The two are separated by a narrow strait, and as Arctic waterways become more accessible, they have become partners in managing them. Canada, as a key member of NATO and NORAD, works closely with the US and Denmark to monitor activity in the region. But it's not just about defense. As shipping lanes like the Northwest Passage become more viable, Canada's role in securing this maritime corridor becomes paramount. Furthermore, with its own significant mineral wealth, Canada is both a competitor and a potential partner in developing the Arctic's resources. Ottawa is watching closely, knowing that whatever happens in Greenland will directly impact its own economic and security future in the north. Now, the UK's interest is a little different. It's less about direct control and more about strategic geography. Greenland is a critical piece of what's known as the GUK Gap. That's the Greenland-Iceland-UK Gap. This has been a vital naval choke point in the North Atlantic for NATO to monitor Russian submarine and naval movements from their Arctic bases. As Russia increases its military activity in the Arctic, the strategic importance of this gap is surging again. As a core NATO naval power, the UK understands that a friendly and stable Greenland is essential for the alliance's northern flank. British companies are also exploring opportunities. For instance, one UK-based firm is running a project to extract graphite in Greenland, a critical material for batteries, which shows that Britain's interest is a mix of classic geopolitics and new tech resource needs. The European Union has a very specific problem it's trying to solve. Its high-tech industries are heavily dependent on China for critical minerals. To become more self-reliant, the EU has launched its Critical Raw Materials Act, and in that strategy, Greenland is a top priority. Greenland has deposits of 25 of the 34 minerals the EU has identified as critical, making it a potential lifeline for European industry. In late 2023, the EU signed a strategic partnership with Greenland to help develop its raw material value chains, backed by hundreds of millions of euros. For Brussels, Greenland isn't just an island. It's a key to achieving technological sovereignty and meeting its climate goals without being reliant on a geopolitical rival. The EU is playing the long game, using partnership and investment as its path to influence. We're about to get to the top 4 nations, where the game gets far more intense, involving superpowers, military bases, and even talk of buying the island outright. But first, if you're finding this analysis of global power dynamics interesting, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We break down complex geopolitical stories like this every week, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Russia's ambition in the Arctic is pretty straightforward. It wants to dominate the Northern Sea Route. This is the shipping lane that runs along its vast northern coastline. As the ice melts, this route could become a major artery for global trade, and Russia is investing heavily in military bases and nuclear-powered icebreakers to control it. So, where does Greenland fit in? It sits at the Atlantic entrance to this route. Russia's interest is twofold. First, to secure access for its own vessels, and second, to challenge NATO's influence in the region. Russia has been steadily increasing its military presence in the Arctic. For the Kremlin, a Greenland that is either neutral or less aligned with NATO would be a massive strategic win, complicating the West's ability to monitor Russian movements. This one might seem obvious, since Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. But that's exactly why Denmark is on this list. Its main goal isn't gaining control, but trying to maintain it in the face of huge external pressure. For decades, Denmark has managed its relationship with Greenland by providing a substantial annual subsidy that supports its economy. But now, Copenhagen is caught in a geopolitical tug-of-war. On one side, it has its most powerful ally, the United States, which has openly discussed buying the island. On the other, it has China and Russia looking for any opportunity. In response, Denmark has been forced to increase its own military investment in the Arctic, announcing plans for new patrol ships and a new military headquarters in Nuuk, Greenland's capital. Denmark is fighting to prove it can be a credible steward of this strategically vital territory, all while navigating Greenland's own powerful independence movement. And then there's China. Despite not having any Arctic territory, China has labeled itself a near-Arctic state and is pushing its Polar Silk Road initiative. For Beijing, the primary interest comes down to resources. China currently controls the vast majority of the world's rare earth processing, and Greenland's massive untapped reserves could help it solidify that dominance for decades to come. However, China's aggressive push has faced some significant pushback. Wary of Beijing's influence and under pressure from the US and Denmark, Greenland's government has blocked several high-profile Chinese investment attempts. This included revoking a Chinese-backed firm's license for a major rare earth mine after a ban on uranium mining was passed. Though its direct approach has been thwarted, China continues to play a patient game through scientific missions and economic diplomacy, seeking any foothold it can find. And finally, the United States. America's interest in Greenland is nothing new. In fact, the US has tried to buy Greenland multiple times, including in 1946 when President Truman offered $100 million in gold for it. And while recent talk of a purchase might seem a little silly, there are very serious strategic reasons behind it. Militarily, Greenland acts as a massive, unsinkable aircraft carrier. It's home to Patuxent Space Base, a critical US Space Force site for missile defense and space surveillance. Geographically, it anchors the GIUK Gap, making it essential for monitoring naval forces in the North Atlantic. Economically, the US sees Greenland's rare earths as a national security issue, a chance to break free from its dependence on China for the minerals that power its military and tech sectors. Recent US administrations have moved from just talking about a purchase to actively investing, opening a consulate in Nuuk and providing aid packages. The message from Washington is clear. In the new great game for the Arctic, the US is determined to be the dominant player. But with all this focus on geopolitics, it's easy to forget about the roughly 57,000 people who actually live in Greenland. For them, all this new attention is both a huge opportunity and a potential threat. The possibility of wealth from mining has given a real boost to Greenland's independence movement. For a long time, Greenland has been economically dependent on Denmark. But the revenue from these resources could, in theory, create a path to full independence. That said, however, the population is divided. There are deep concerns about the environmental damage that large-scale mining could inflict on their landscape, and fears of simply trading dependence on Copenhagen for dependence on Washington or Beijing. The people of Greenland are at a historic crossroads. They are no longer a forgotten population on a remote island. They are now players in their own right, trying to navigate the currents of global power to forge their own destiny. Their ultimate choice, between economic development and environmental preservation, between partnership and sovereignty, will be the most important move of all in this great game. So, this race for Greenland is really more than just a competition for minerals and shipping lanes. It's a place where you can see the ambitions of global superpowers, the real-world effects of climate change, and the aspirations of a small nation all coming together. The United States sees a strategic anchor for its military and a key to its technological future. China and Russia see an entry point to challenge Western dominance in a new arena. The European Union sees a solution to a critical resource dependency. And the people of Greenland see a difficult but possible path to independence. As the ice continues to melt, the competition will only intensify. The world's largest island, once defined by its stillness, is now a place of rapid, unpredictable change. The question is no longer if. Greenland will be a major player in the 21st century, but who gets to write the rules for its future?